السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. قال مولانا أمير المؤمنين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم إني أسألك برحمتك التي وسعت كل شيء وبقوتك التي قهرت بها كل شيء. صدق الله وصدق رسوله وصدق وجه الكريم. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us and give strength and tawfiq of all the bounties and blessings of this great month of Rajab, and include us among the Rajabiyun on the resurrection day, inshallah. So our discussion about dua kumail, we finished to this point. Allahumma inni as'aluka bi rahmatika allati wasi'at kulla shay. The mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is the first starting point of Amir al-Mu'mineen to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Once he wants to start asking from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, communicating to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he refers to one of the key attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is rahmat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because it's going to be a good discussion across the dua and also for tawheed, and knowing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it will help us, and also it will help us to understand wasi'at kulla shay, the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which has covered everything across the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's very important, essential for us to understand the attributes and names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we can connect the attributes and names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to this rahmat. And then from rahmat, we can understand easily wasi'at, which this rahmat is covered everything. What does it mean? Because it's not clear to us unless we understand the complete, or not complete, at least we understand the meaning of sifat and asma of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So here is asma, sifat. So this sifat also divided in two things, as thubutiyya and salbiya. So first, asma. What is asma? The names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because every time we communicate to Allah, we ask, we open a dialogue with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we refer one of the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whether Ya Rab, Ya Rahim, Ya Kareem, Ya Allah, Allahumma inni as'aluka bi rahmatika allati wasi'at kulla shay, all that. So either that's the name or the attributes. What is the difference between these two? It's very important for us. One is referred to the essence of being. One is manifestation of being. Essence of being, what the thing or person or shay exists. Manifestation of being is referred to the qualities of being. Let's say this example of this marker, which I have. The essence of being of this marker is made out of plastic, has a cap, it's in ink, and few other things which is involved in this marker to be as a marker. This is called the essence of this marker. Without that, this marker cannot be exist. Now, you have manifestation of this marker, which is color, size, weight, usage, and so on and so forth. So the usage of this marker, which I'm writing here, the color, the weight, all that is called the manifestation of being this marker. The same thing, the essence of this building is what you call it land, walls, materials, and so on and so forth. The manifestation of this building is all these beautiful colors and then the decorations and usage. We are sitting here and so on and so forth. Okay. Without essence of being, one cannot exist. But without manifestation of that being, that shy or that thing or that person can exist. Let's say about us, me and you as a mankind, what is our essence of being? What are the essence of being as a mankind? Me, Abidi, each one of us were here, and in general, all the mankind. Anyone can point out what are the essence of being us as a mankind?
As a human being?
Yes.
The combination of our soul and our body.
Body, soul, spirit, okay. Body, spirit, and the desire. That's what called the hadith and riwayat refers. We have three essence of being. All these three is part of our beings. So if I have only body and spirit, I could be an angel. If I have only desire and body, I could be animal. Only if I have a body, I could be any trees or any thing. So me as a whole human being, the essence of me being a human being is body, spirit, or soul, and desire. These are the three things which make me to be or to exist. And what are my manifestation of being me as a human being? Walking, talking, my learning, sleeping, usage, thinking, everything. Okay. So this is very clear that we have two things. One is the asma, which is referred to the essence of being, sifat, the qualities or manifestations of being. About Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if we want to understand, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also has the essence of being and the manifestation of being Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What are the essence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Essence of being Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Anyone can think of?
Knowing, like seeing.
That could be sifat, the manifestation of being Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What is the essence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala?
I can tell you what the essence isn't.
Isn't?
Yeah. I can't tell you what the essence is.
Oneness.
Mm-hmm.
Oneness.
Okay. You're getting there. This itself is I cannot tell or I cannot describe. It means the essence of being Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is what it reaches to the perfect or eternal or to the khulud. The hadith and riwayat refers to the khulud. Khulud and mahz. Okay, this is the essence of being Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Any attribute or any name or anything reaches to the complete perfection or eternal, so that's the essence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay. Yes, in other words, you cannot describe that. But for example, you see Rahman. Say Asma of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Rahim, the sifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay. So this difference between Rahman and Rahim is Rahman once reached to the absolute and eternal, infinite point. So that's the essence of being of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We talked in this before about the number. When I say infinite number, there's nothing to describe infinite. Okay? But once you start counting 1, 2,000, million, billion, trillion, and so on and so forth, so that can give you a picture that trillion is big number compared to billion. Billion is big number compared to million. Million is big number compared to thousand. Thousand is big number compared to 10. 10 is big compared to 1. 1 is good compared to 0. So you have a 0, which is none, and we have eternal, infinite, which is also you cannot. But what you can understand is in infinite, all these number is portion of that, part of that. Okay, so here that's why when we say Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, a beginning of Allah, the compassionate, the merciful, because of lack of our language understanding, we use some words. But Rahman, not Rahman, anything which reaches to the perfection and infinite, that is name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And whatever you can measure, size, or you can see tangible as a sifat. So once we say sifat, raziq. Raziq is sifat. So it means the one who is providing the rizq. We understand, tangible. Once we say khaliq, the creator, so we understand the creation, the one who creates all that. So this is a sifat. We can measure, but each and every sifat, Allah says that even any attribute, which is the manifestation of being about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if it reaches to the perfect khulus, become name, and once it become name, that one quality or attribute can prove all the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Make sense? It's difficult, because of philosophical discussion. So because I want this to establish, once we move on, we understand better. Okay? As a philosophical discussion, any attribute of Allah, if you take it to the khuluds, infinite, or the complete, perfect position, that one attribute, it means you prove all the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How is that? For example, you say Kareem. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is like Jawad. Take it as Jawad. Okay? You say Jawad, what is the meaning of Jawad?
Generous.
The generous. So Jawad is always Jawad, sometimes good, or sometimes stingy. So his Jawad is not complete Jawad, partial Jawad. If you take the complete Jawad, it means if I'm a Jawad, complete Jawad, I should have a power. I should have a knowledge. I should be compassion. I should have that wisdom, Hakim. I should Aziz. So this one attribute, if reached the perfection, it means I have all the attributes in perfect situation.
So how do you do that derivation? Like some of those I understand, but some don't work logically for me.
How?
So with the generous example, if you're infinitely generous, that means you're just you're
so
giving,
infinite generous, it means you should have power to give. So you should have knowledge to give, because if you're infinite generous, it means you know the needs of the people, you know the needs of all the creation. So you have a infinite knowledge, not partial knowledge. So if you are infinite generous, you should have an infinite wisdom, and so on and so forth.
Okay.
It makes sense? Yes.
So I have a couple of questions. First, what's the meaning of khulud and mahd?
Khulud is infinite.
Mhm.
Mahz is perfect, complete perfect. So anything reached to the infinite or complete perfection, so that's the essence of being of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Anything. So that's why, according to hadith and riwayat, the name which we can call for Allah, or Allah, He Himself chooses for Him as the name of Allah. Allah is not Khaliq. Khaliq is the creator. Rahman is the compassion. Jawad is generous. Hakim is wise. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mustajmi'a jami'a sifat jamali wa kamali. All the beautiful names and all the beautiful attributes and to the name of Allah. So that's why the Allah is combination of everything. Like for example, we can say Dr. Asad. Asad is our doctor. So this doctor is one of his attributes. Is sitting one of his attributes. I saw a man who wear the glasses and who wear, for example, the stripes of color, and his beard is like that. I described. So all that is the portion of what he is. But once I say Asad, it means Asad, he wears the glass, he's sitting, he's walking, he's a PhD, he has this, all that. Okay. So about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the same thing. Okay. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reaches, if you want to know complete name for him, is none but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that's why Hadith and Riwayat says that we cannot name anyone, haram to name Allah. You can say Abdullah, but not Allah by itself. But even some of the Mujtahideen says that Asma, like Rahman, also don't call your son, or you don't name your son Rahman. Say Abdul Rahman. Okay? But for sure, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is like those names. So here we are coming back to the discussion of the dua. Dua Kumir, Allahumma inni as'aluka bi rahmatika allati. We talked and discussed last time the rahmats of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this rahmat has holes, and those holes are deduction from Allah. And the more we have attachment to the worldly things, maybe we get more and more, but because of the hole, it will empty soon. The more bigger hole we have, the sooner we empty the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's what Hadith and Riwayat says. Even Rubba ta'atin qaleel, sometimes acting, doing dua, doing small a'mal, for only purely for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is better than doing lots of a'mal for the people, or combination of people and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the strength to have those types of actions and a'mal. Allahumma inni as'aluka bi rahmatik. So this rahmat is the sifat, manifestation of the being of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you have Allah, He should be Rahman, Rahim, and name. Why? Because this compassion reaches to the khulud and mahf, infinite, and also perfect, the perfection to that point. So once you have the rahmat here, that's why our scholar says that this rahmat of Allah is the name, not sifat. Why? Wasi'at kulla shay. Okay. So وسعت كل شيء. So وسعت كل شيء. Oh Allah, I ask you with your mercy, which covers everything. Asi, like the good person, bad person, whoever, anything, because of the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, everything exists. Even if shaitan is breathing because of the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Otherwise, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cut off his mercy upon him, he will be destroyed or finished. So everything. وَسِعَتْ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ. So here, the rahmat is the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not attribute. That's why once we say the attribute of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Rahim, it means towards the believers and mu'mineen, extra Rahim, extra Kareem. Okay. But His rahmat is for everyone. Allahumma inni as'aluka bi rahmatika allati. Here, bi is also a very amazing point. Bi rahmatika allati. Once we recite Bismillah Rahman Rahim, this Bismillah, this ba has a different meanings in Arabic. So here, Birahmatika, like in Arabic, when we say Bismillah Rahman Rahim, you can say, I begin of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, say ibtida, isti'ana, and seeking help from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, but not isti'ana mubtada, meaning that with the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And likewise, 17, 18 different meanings. So here, birahmatika allati is not seeking help, not saying anything. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I want to ask you with your mercy, which is covered everywhere. It's not seeking. I'm not seeking your rahmat. It's everywhere there. So I want to ask you with your rahmats. So here, mubtada khabar. Birahmatika allati wasi'at kulla shay. Everything, everywhere. Nothing you can imagine without the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the first. So once you want to start to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with these types of knowledge, understanding, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here is yours. Ismi Adam. I want to begin. I want to ask you with your mercy, which is covered everywhere. So I'm here. I'm sure that the dialogue between the servant and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was completely different. وَبِقُوَّتِكَ الَّتِي قَهَرْتَ بِهَا كُلَّ شَيْءٍ. It's amazing. The first one is Amir al-Mu'minin is talking about the mercy. And on the other hand, Amir al-Mu'minin is talking about quwwah. Quwwah is other side of the mercy. Yes, you have a mercy, but not like a mother who doesn't think of the best outcome of her child. She wants to be only compassionate and merciful towards this daughter or son. Because of that, maybe she will ruin her future, his future. But meanwhile, you have the rahmats, you have the quwwats. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I'm asking your quwwat, which is qaharta biha kulla shay. This power which covers every angle, everywhere. This is a good balance. It's not mercy. Mercy is also quwwats. You know what is the meaning of khudur and khushu'? Once we say khudur and khushu', it's very important to understand. And so these are the two beautiful words for us, khudur and khushu'. Khudu' and khushu is a quality of a servant when she stands before God. Has to do with the awareness of whom they're talking. So if I'm here, for example, I'm alone in my home, no one's there in bathroom, maybe I'm wearing whatever, I'm not wearing anything, I don't even think, I'm walking everything. But once I come out of the bathroom, even no one is home, and still because of the environment, I want to watch myself. I don't want to, for example, go around with not wearing anything. But if 1 year boy, as I'm acting when I'm alone, if my friend is sitting there, I'm different. I'm not going to be, for example, as free as with 1 year boy, a girl. If someone who is dear to me is different, but if, for example, someone is high position, different. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is different. So knowing about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this khudu' and khushu is the khashiyat called a combination of hope is raja, hope, which is raja, and also khawf, fear. Combination of khawf, fear, and hope. From one side, I have a deep hope. I know that only He can resolve. And from other side, I know that He has a quwwah. It's not something only compassion. No, it's power. Oh. So here Imam Ali Islam wants to give us or teach us a balance when we talk. So Lama, uh, uh, one of the greatest scholars, I forget about his name. So anyhow, he was a Qadi Tabatabai, the teacher of Abdullah Muhammad Zin Tabatabai, the author of Al-Mizan. His teacher, Qadi Tabatabai, he was one of the great Arafa of the time. Some people, they went and they said that, one of the students, he is sinning and he is shameless and he has no, formalities or shames, he sins. And he says, you know what, come on, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has compassion, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is great. قال تبارك وتعالى اللهم إني أسألك برحمتك التي وسعت كل شيء وبقوتك التي قهرت. The power which makes to be within all limits. Taharta makes us to be within all limits. Not something only passion. No. The quwwah, we need a power to balance. So the healthy relationship between two friends is coming from compassion and the power. Same thing for families, same thing for everywhere, countries everywhere. So if you lack one of these two, only quwwah is going to be Saddam. Only passion is going to be whatever. You need to have a good balance, to have a good system. وبقوتك التي قهرت بها كل شيء. قهرت is not قهر as in bad way, rather making everything to be within their own limit. The power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is making everything to be in its own place. Maybe for the planets, power is the gravitation. If the Earth is has no gravitations, everything will be spinning or going around and a chaos. So that's the power for the mankind is different. Power for the prophet is different. Power for the heavens and everything is different. But what we can understand from this is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, your power is giving a balance for everything to be within their own limits and to act and function with the limits. قهرت بها كل شيء وخضع لها كل شيء. خضوع. خضع. So once you have mercy and the power, these two, mercy and power, makes خضع لها كل شيء. To stand before you everything, knowing that you are the absolute power. Maybe I can run away here or there for a moment, but once I woke up, I will understand that nothing. Yes, you see, lots of people getting going all the power, the position, the wealth, maybe make them to be away from their own limits. But once they hit one big problem, wow, cancer, shaking. So at that time, I want to go to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As Allah Tabatabai says, the amount of khudu the seed has, if I can have that, I can be a successful person. What is the khudu of seed? Once you plant the seed grows. Allah. That's the kamal of seed. That's the perfection of the seed. Seed has a purpose. Once you plant the seed, grows, become tree, and give the fruits. Okay, that's the kamal. What about me? I'm less than that. A seed. I have to have a good growth. I have to have everything. How we can do that? But خَضَعَ لَهَا كُلَّ شَيْءٍ. As Allah Iqbali says, Man naridam sagi pishe sarkham cat. We can't see any dog goes and does sajda to other dog, but this human being, he does sajda to everyone, respect to everyone, but to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If we come to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, come back to the world, nature, khada'a laha kulla shay. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, every being, everything, every creation is standing before you with khudu, knowing that you are the only. Khudu, meaning khada'a, has nothing, have nothing. Only you. خَضَعَ لَهَا كُلَّ شَيْءٍ وَذَلَّ لَهَا كُلُّ شَيْءٍ. So once you have a khudu', dhalla, so you're going to be dhalil. Dhalil here is opposite of Aziz. Aziz, the one who's dignified. Dhalil was nothing. So yes, Allah subhanahu nothing. I'm worthless. The more I'm dhalil before Allah, I'm going to be Aziz among the people. That's why our beloved Imam Amir says that people, they're looking for izzah, dignity among the people, which doesn't exist. They forget the source, which is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if you want to have izzah, go to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Be dhalil to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What Imam Rizal said, Ilahi kafa bi izzan an akuna laka abda. For me, this izzah is enough that you are my Lord. I'm your servant. So what a beautiful understanding. وَذَلَّ لَهَا كُلَّ شَيْءٍ وَبِجَبَرُوتِكَ الَّتِي غَلَبْتَ بِهَا كُلَّ شَيْءٍ. Because this Jabarut, we need to little bit discuss more. Inshallah, I want to talk a little bit more. I thought that we have to finish by 9:30, inshallah. So if you have any question, I can take those questions and I can leave this for next week, inshallah. Any question? Yes.
So is Rahma part of Sifat because, or Sama because because of the fact that it's existence in itself and the mercy expands to its all existence.
Rahma is in the beginning is from the sifats because that's a manifestation of the being of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But once you say wasi'at kulla shay, this mercy is reaching everywhere, it means it reaches to the perfection, it's to infinite position. So at that time become the S. So any attribute reaches to the perfection becomes the name, part of being of Allah.
So if an attribute is conditional, it never reaches asma, right?
Yes, but وَلِلَّهِ الْأَسْمَاءُ الْحُسْنَى. We have this principle. Every beautiful attribute reaches to the ism, that's for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We don't have any attribute which cannot reach to the the ism or the essence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why? Because it's a perfect. Like, yes, for us, you're right. For us, you're right. Not for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
So would that be like the potential of it? Because, for example, like going back on what his point was, that when you say Khaliq is conditional from the practical perspective of actually manifesting some type of creation, or else, for example, an inventor wouldn't be called an inventor until he invents something. Until before then, he's kind of, totally potential to invent something, but he hasn't done the action of inventing.
Jazakallah. Some of the ulama says that some of the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala we can imagine that these are the only sifat, like a khaliq. We can imagine that maybe not necessarily to reach to the name or ism, not part of the essence of being of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But philosophically, or the ulama and philosopher, falsafa, like the Sadruddin Shirazi and others, they disagree with this. It says that if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala exists, there should be always some creation, because this khaliqiyat also has to reach to the point of perfection, and if that's the case, it should be always. But other ulama said that no, we can imagine, we can think that maybe there was a time that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he was by himself and he doesn't feel that I need to create anything. That's like we can imagine and a possibility in our thinking process, but not necessarily a practical.
So regarding this asma and sifat, when we look at everything else other than God, it's easy to say, okay, there's essence and then there's sifat. Like, for example, this bookshelf can be a bookshelf, but then it could be brown, it could be white. But with Allah, it's hard to say. Like Allah, His essence and sifat seem to be the same.
That's why the name of Allah is Mustajmi'a Jami'a Sifat Jamali wa Kamal. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is referred to as Wahid Tawheed. Tawheed meaning that all the beautiful names, all the attributes, everything has to reach to one point, which is khulud. That's why Allahu Samad. Qul huwa Allahu Ahad. Say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is one. What is one? Allahu Samad. Samad is the description of the names and attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Samad is infinite. Perfection. Perfect. Okay. There is nothing you can go like beyond that. No, He is everything. Samad. So Samad meaning that every sifat, every attribute has to reach to that point. So that's how Allah subhanahu makes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Tawheed. When you say Tawheed, it's not like 2-3 things as combination. No, all that, as I said, any attribute, like for example, Quwwa. This Quwwa, absolute quwwah, you need to have absolute izzah, you need to have everything. So each and every sifat, it once is reached to the highest perfection. Yes. So then for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this division of sifat and asma is to understand. Or once we describe Qul huwallahu ahad, tawheed, oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in all the angles. And even when we talk about sifat as-subutiyya and salbiyya, you know what's the difference between sifat as-subutiyya and salbiyya?
One is negation, the other isn't.
How?
One is Salvia, I think, is all the stuff that God isn't.
Okay. So sifat as-subutiyya, everything which make him to perfect. Salbiya, anything which can degrade him or lower him from being perfectness. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has equally sifat as-subutiyya to prove that all the beautiful attributes he has, and anything which is lacking he doesn't. Like for example, to me, maybe some of the sifat as-subutiyya is bad. I have anger is bad. I have a body is stopping me from flying because of body stopping. So these are the good qualities, which is eventually bad qualities. So I don't have some of the good qualities, which I don't have. That's sifat as-salbiyya. So I cannot live under the water, for example, more than like maybe 5 minutes or 2 minutes. I don't know. What is the record of the World Genius book? But anyhow, so I cannot be there under the water for example, a long time. Or at least I cannot live a normal life under the water. But fish can. So that's a sifat as-salbiyya for me. But this sifat as-salbiyya, not necessarily good, but I don't have. But for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, any good attribute should be there, that's sifat as-subutiyya. Anything which make his position lower, he doesn't have. That's sifat as-subutiyya.
Honest. What does khushu mean?
Khushu and khudu both is from one origin. Khasha'a, khushu meaning that the position once you have complete hope towards one and also fear of your own shortcomings. So these two will make you to have the awareness of whom you are standing. That awareness will bring a position of khushu. Khushu is literally shivering, but it's not shivering. So the position, once you're standing before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with that awareness, that will make you to have that. So Imam Ali once he was doing wudu, he was weeping and shivering, or he was shaking himself as out of khudu and khushu. That position considered as a khudu and khushu.
What's the difference between it?
The difference between this khushu is the beginning, khudu is the highest level. So for example, you begin to, like for example, all of a sudden you have some great person, or like let's say Imam Azam here. So in the beginning, you don't know, you're for example nervous, and so after that, once you see the true face of Imam Azam, because of the greatness of Imam Azam, you're from khushu reached to the khudu. At that time, you're speechless. You're like you're under his greatness and heights. This is called khudu. So khudu is highest degree of khushu. So inshallah, Muhammad wa ali Muhammad sallallahu alaihi اللهم إنا نسألك باسمك العظيم الأعظم الأعز الأجل الأكرم يا الله يا الله يا الله يا الله. اللهم أنزل علينا بركات رحمتك فأنت ذلك. اللهم تقبل منا إنك السميع العليم. اللهم عجل في فرج مولانا صاحب السماء واجعلنا من أعوانه وأنصاره. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كل ولي كل حجة بن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة ولي